She told me stay strong and I asked what's that. I ain't never been nothing, that's why the kid rap. She told me stay up and I told her that's facts. I told her that's facts. I told her that's facts. That's facts. I ain't never let them break my spirit.
Hello, welcome everybody. My name's Spark. This is Sparky Speaks, and we're going to talk about everybody's favorite socialist, terrorist supporting, possible sexual offender, Hasan Piker. Yeah, so this is about whether or not he has connections to Jeffrey Epstien and Ghislaine Maxwell on top of going to Diddy parties. So here we go. Shout out to Slop Roach who made the video and cut out all the bad language so I don't have to. Here we go.
Of the progressive left, he's constantly hailed as a progressive darling and quote-unquote woke bae by the media. He even has a legion of fangirls who will defend his every action no matter how bad. However, when you look into Hasan's past or even present for more than just a few seconds, what you'll find is a man who has a vary of misogyny, and you'll come to realize all this woke virtue signaling he does is nothing but performative. Hasan Piker is a complete sex pest who will very often disregard the idea of consent in many circumstances, and also has had some very suspicious sexual encounters that really should be investigated further. Some of the examples I show in this video might be more borderline or just walking the line between genuine misogyny and just offensive jokes.
See, the thing is that on top of all of the terrorist support, which is actually illegal, a lot of the stuff that is revealed in this video is stuff that I hadn't even heard, and I have been on top of that. I've been following Nuxenor's covering of him for years. Thank God for Nuxenor for exposing what type of creep, what type of cretin, what type of evil man this was. Someone who says that America deserves 9/11. But not only that, he's also one of the creepiest creeps that ever creeped.
However, keep in mind that Hasan constantly accuses others of being incels or misogynists for mundane things.
If you were a 100-pound woman, would you be getting this treatment? Yeah, I think so. Because who do people hate on the internet the most? Women. Like, women are the #1 op. All of the people that hate me also automatically hate women in general. Pragmata, it's making thousands of people suddenly want to start a family. You place Hugh as soldier, stranded on a ruin.
Of course, being a leftist, he's an anti-natalist, judging men for wanting to have a family, which is the most fulfilling and awesome thing that you can do as a person.
Lunar research station whose job is protecting the child like android Diana while fighting rogue AI. What's really interesting about this is all of these unfuckable losers in the gaming sphere always talk about like starting families and stuff.
Keep this in mind going forward. As you will see, when we apply Hasan's broad definition of misogyny,
and when he calls people uneffable losers, the only reason why Hasan is effable at all is because he has millions. It's because he's a trust fund baby. It's because he's a Nepo baby. That's why he has access to a lot of females, not because of his personality.
To him,
he's
one of the worst culprits. Let's go. Hasan was born in New Jersey, but was swiftly taken back to Turkey to live under his extremely wealthy parents. An article written by Cosmopolitan helps shed light onto his upbringing, but I'll also be referring to other clips as well, such as one where he brags about spying on his female neighbor while she was topless.
I had a German neighbor in Turkey, and she just had her titties out when she was tanning, and that was awesome.
I love that he uses the death clock Metalocalypse censoring sound. If you know anything about Metalocalypse, that sound that he uses every time Hasan uses an F-bomb, that's from Metalocalypse. That's awesome. This guy is awesome.
Okay.
Not Hasan Piker, the guy making the video, obviously.
Anyways, the article talks about how Hasan grew up in a repressed culture in Turkey, a country that's more conservative around the topic of sex. Now, Hasan claims to despise America, call it the worst country on earth, wish it the absolute worst, but the fact is that he absolutely idolized the US growing up for one main reason. There's a saying in Turkey that, when you go to America, the girls ask to fuck. He recounts the story about
Well, for me, they do. Which I'm, you know, definitely off of the market, but they do.
How he convinced his parents to put him in the University of Miami and how he lost his virginity. The two went to a nearby apartment complex courtyard where they had sex on a gravel staircase. Ugh. Okay, this isn't sexism, but what I want to establish from the get-go is what kind of person Hasan is. He is obsessed with sex to the point where he's likely addicted to it, and to porn, and whatever else.
Bro, this chick is super hot. What's going on? How do I get on this show? I want her to yell at my penis.
What does that even mean?
Here, I've drew pants. There you go. I've never been able to draw like a person I could jerk off to.
People follow this man. At this point in time when he was doing this, people followed him.
He admits to drawing pictures of boobs and then jerking off to it. My guy, what are you doing? This is only a little weird on its own, but when you combine it with everything else in this video, it'll paint a picture of the kind of man you definitely wouldn't want your daughter to be around at all. Anyways, Hasan would start falling behind in his grades, so his parents transferred him to Rutgers University. Here, Hasan was able to choose the frat house he desired the most, TDX, also known as Theta Delta He.
Also known as the frat house that is notorious for a bunch of like date rape allegations and whatnot.
I hope I pronounced that right. He explicitly says that he
Grape. Isn't it ridiculous that we have to use pseudonyms or we have to use different words to talk about real things and under the guise of protecting children when we know no, it's not about protecting children. It's the reason why these words are not allowed to be used on YouTube is so children watching these videos, when things like that happen to them, they don't actually know the proper words to call those things. That's why every single time you use the word grape, it has to be censored by the G, is because they don't want kids and young people to be able to communicate that kind of thing that it's happening to them. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but why else would they censor those words? They're not bad words. They're bad things. They're not evil words. They're evil things to do. Sound off in the comments if you think that's true.
chose this one because it was what all the girls liked the most. Here you can see that it's basically what he spent all his college years doing. And if you
Yeah. Holy cow.
look at the reviews, yeah,
Did you see that one on the right? That's crazy.
says that he chose this one because it was what all the girls liked the most. Here you can see that
Look
it's
at that one.
basically
Look,
what
you-
he
okay,
spent all
holy cow. Look at that one. She's like, I don't know. Look at it. And he's like, that's very much your, I'm not saying, you know, because it's only a picture, but does that not look a little bit forceful? Like, doesn't that look like a power imbalance to you? If you were a leftist, wouldn't that look like a power imbalance? That to me looks like a freaking power imbalance. Disgusting.
his college years doing. And if you look
So respect to the chubby chasing.
at the reviews, yeah, they have a terrible reputation. Some people even accuse it of being a date rape house.
Most frats are, for the most part, aren't they? I don't know. I've never been to college because I'm not an idiot.
It was the wealthiest fraternity on the campus, basically being a massive mansion. There are allegations against Hasan from former fellow classmates. However, this
Well, I am an idiot because my face is covered in tattoos, but I've never been to college.
was a post in the r-destiny subreddit, and I'm not going to trust that right now. I will say though that you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and based on the negative reputation of this frat house, I doubt that Hasan was completely innocent here. After graduating, Hasan quickly got hooked up with a job by his uncle Cenk Uygur at the Young Turks. He wasn't the esteemed journalist and reporter we all know today.
Bars.
He wasn't the unhinged political propagandist we know today, but instead he was known for running a supposedly comedic show called Bro Tip. A lot of the attempts at humor here have aged like milk. Hasan took his real-life douchey frat bro character and cranked it up a notch.
I always knew Hannah Montana was a little fucking slut. Don't even try to hide it. Look, this is a
Disgusting.
classic example of what happens when your father doesn't pay attention to you. You turn out to be a slut who's craving for attention, and then I tend to pick you up at a bar late night and bang you out on the first date. Shout out to Elon Musk, the ultimate swag champion of all time, for unveiling...
Oh, is this Hasan Piker giving props and celebrating Elon Musk?
his latest invention, the Hyperloop. How do you have the time to come up with this shit when women are probably tossing their salads your way faster than you can say Hyperloop in every single corner? You're a designated genius, you're a
Who talks like that?
good-looking dude, and you happen to be a fucking billionaire.
What's this? Hasan praising Elon Musk for being a billionaire? What troubles me about these clips is that it's not too far from his actual personality. In my last video, I talk about how Hasan likes to utilize the Schrodinger's douchebag tactic frequently. If these shows were met with massive praise, I have no doubt Hasan would continue making the same kind of borderline misogynistic comments to this day. He has never shown remorse for making this kind of content, and instead will either deny or downplay it like with everything. Take this softball interview with the Breakfast Club where they briefly bring it up and he stammers, then they cushion the blow for him by reframing it as a left-wing version of Joe Rogan.
Before you get out of here, what is your dude bro project?
Hey, Joe Rogan is not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he is way smarter than Hasan Piker. These people who try to make him, oh, he's the left wing, has Joe Rogan, which Joe Rogan used to be left wing until y'all kicked him off of the left wing, but Joe Rogan is much smarter than Hasan. Hasan is practically, he has about the same IQ range as like a rock.
Right.
I know what you might be thinking. Well, these are just jokes. Why should he be cancelled for it? Well, let's take a similar creator who got cancelled for an edgy past, iDubbbz. He'd make a lot of offensive jokes back in the day, which I would argue were less indicative
Were really funny
of the kind of person he was back then. He eventually went on a massive apology tour.
He went on a massive I'm a big weenie tour because his wife forced him to and ruined his career and image. And now he has nothing but meow. Think about that.
Announcing his past, and a lot of the people in the far left spaces still don't forgive him.
The black people you've harmed, of course, there are far more black people that have been harmed than just the individual content creators, and that you will have to atone for in some other way, and you probably will not be able to. You go look at the privated videos on the videos, every video you did, every content cop on a Jinx, what you did to you, what you did to all of them, and what was the revenue on those videos, and pay and cut some checks.
An apology is not enough for me.
Yeah.
Cut some checks. Y'all gotta pay. You said things that could have been were slightly racist in the past. Pay. Well, look at what they're doing. These are not cheap microphones that they have. Like, you gotta pay. You gotta cut some checks because you said the N-word once or twice. Don't you say it all the time? Me personally, I don't condone white dudes saying the N-word. I make rap music and I know white rappers who use the N-word in their raps, and I think that's corny as hell. But I don't condone it, but also I don't think you should cut a check for using the N-word.
So I ask, how come Hasan gets away with an entire career of extremely sexist jokes while iDubbbz?
Because he's not white, because he's a leftist, as well as he's a Nepo baby, he has money, and that's about it. He's able to because of all those reasons. That's like the trifecta. If he was trans, he would literally be able to say anything to anyone at any time, and there would never be a problem. Really recorded, which is not cool. Hasan openly says this disgusting stuff. He was like, I don't care one bit that there were rapes on October 7th. It's still acceptable.
I would love to hang in Diddy Sirak entourage and trickle down bang anything thrown his way. Wait, what? Yup. You want to know why I call Hasan Hamas Diddy Piker?
Because Nux gave him that name and it's catchy.
I mean, he supports Hamas, which is obvious, but what about the Diddy part? Believe it or not, it's not because of this tweet. It's because he's actually been to a P. Diddy party back in 2018. If you've spent any time on the internet, you should know how damning this kind of thing is. Famous artist Puff Daddy would host these parties called freak-offs where he used girls of various ages who are trafficked, groomed, exploited, etc., and forced them to perform for his partygoers. Here is Hasan's account of attending one of these.
I walked into this back sphere Epcot looking thing in the back of the house that P. Diddy was renting for his and was throwing after parties at Coachella, and they were playing these crazy things for people who are high, and one of the images that they were playing was this little girl, this
What?
supposedly attractive very young girl.
Supposedly attractive, very young girl. Who says that? Except somebody who was a sicko. It's seriously, supposedly attractive. When you see stuff like that, that's when you leave. And I don't care if you were high. You'll find an Uber.
Opening up a Christmas gift.
Call the police.
And I think I told you about this where I was like, this is some real weird Alex Jones style pedo thing here.
This is some real weird Alex Jones style pedo thing here. And just continues to watch, from what it sounds like.
Might say that he didn't actually admit to doing anything wrong and just found it weird. But when asked about it today, Hasan completely denies ever going to a Diddy party.
Of course.
Are you denying going to a Diddy party? Of course I'm denying. This didn't happen. What are you talking about? Think.
He also went to a party thrown by an unnamed co-founder of Victoria's Secret in a home.
Mind you, one of the co-founders of Victoria's Secret is like, was like Jeffrey Epstein's practically like right-hand man in a lot of ways.
Hills mansion.
We walk in and immediately I'm like, this is bad vibes. First of all, these people look like demons.
Oh, so you stay. So you stay. They look like demons, so you stay. Good thinking, Hasan.
I don't know if it's because these people are actually doing like, these people are
Rituals?
actually like hanging out with Ghislaine Maxwell. You know what I mean? But I'll just say that.
Does he mean that they're actually hanging with Ghislaine Maxwell, or is that like he's using her as like an example as what this is like? That's what I don't understand from this.
This much, the party was thrown by a guy who is like one of the part owners of Victoria's Secret,
who is linked to a bunch of creep child exploitation, trafficking type stuff.
Which part owner could he be referring to, I wonder? In case you haven't heard, there are a ton of connections between Victoria's Secret and Jeffrey Epstein. If this part owner is Les Wexner, then this party Hasan went to is pretty much an Epstein party.
Les Wexner, that was the name I was thinking of.
And the way Hasan talks about it doesn't make it any better either.
there was a lot of British people, suspiciously. I don't know why there was a lot of British people, okay? Definitely had, you know what I'm talking about? Like the royalty British, like the very wealthy royalty British that look like toads.
Hasan talked about how
You mean like Prince Andrew?
creepy and weird this whole thing was, which would also fit the vibe.
See, it's like every single aspect of Hasan Piker is absolutely disgusting, damning, and worthy of him at the very least being canceled, being kicked out of the country, something being thrown in jail, because he supports the Houthis, he supports Hezbollah, he supports Hamas, and he says he doesn't care that rapes happened on October 7th. He said that America deserved 9/11, and yet for some reason, he's still just walking around free.
This lady came up to me and like pushed me towards a chandelier and was like, I need to take this photo of you, darling. And then like snapped a couple photos of me. Why would you? Anyway, whatever. I mean, the photos did look pretty dope though. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, I'm literally now on like some weird album, like 20 years later, where someone's going to be like, oh, Hasan was in the.
I hope it's less than 20 years later, and it's more like here in a day or two that we get all this stuff to come out about him, because I'm really sick of him just being the person that he is.
Pedophile dungeon. Like, look, there's a photo of Hasan. Like, at least I'll look really good in the pedophile dungeon photos that someone uncovers. You know what I mean?
He literally calls them pedophile dungeon photos. What the hell kind of party was this, dude? Homie, that is some, you know, or
I mean,
I got all of these clips from the VODs, by the way. Nothing was clipped from a random snark account. Am I just hallucinating?
Snarf.
Or is it fucking weird that sex-obsessed womanizing Hasan Piker just happens to be attending parties adjacent to or thrown by some of the most infamous sex traffickers in the world? Hasan likes to smear his enemies as Epstein defenders like Asmongold or Destiny, but the reality is that he is the one that is objectively closest to Epstein with all the debauchery and bad crowds he puts himself in. Now I want to touch upon other moments during Hasan's illustrious streaming career. Hasan has had a lot of bad moments while streaming, no doubt about it. However, there is one I haven't seen talked about too much, which is basically indefensible.
Patrick Henry College is like doing one good thing, which is that like if you have these fucking millionaire, billionaire WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is like, in some respects, you know, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, there is so much wrong here. First of all, Hasan is a millionaire billionaire fail son. He's a son of extremely wealthy parents, and he was moved out of University of Miami because he spent all his time partying and underperformed. What implications does this have when he talks about quote unquote millionaire billionaire fail sons? More importantly though, all rape is bad. I know, only controversial opinions on this channel. Why the would you ever talk about how one rape is a little bit better in that?
Yeah, because it's better because she's a wealthy white girl. That means it's okay that she gets assaulted. That's disgusting.
That tone. This piece of
It's straight up evil.
shit is a straight up rape apologist. When you look into his questionable past as a sex obsessed frat bro who belonged to
That picture on the right, again, look at that. He's like, that's like a caveman dragging her to the cave type look that he's giving her. I'm just saying.
an infamous fraternity, I can't help but to see this as projection. What did you do to other women in your college, Hasan? What kind of implications does this statement have when you used to belong to a rich fraternity house that attracted rich girls? I assume some of you little Hasan fans are watching. I have a challenge for you. Before you call me a Nazi, an Asmongold fan, Sex Pestiny fan, Ethan Klein genocide supporting fan,
And mind you, I support Ethan Klein's lawsuit against all of them because all the stuff that they did against Ethan Klein is absolutely inexcusable. Trying to mess with bro's family just because he supports Israel in their defense against Hamas. It's just ridiculous what they did. So yes, I do support them. But yeah, Destiny, I can't stand Destiny. And also Destiny is either on crystal meth or on serious amounts of Adderall all the time because what he does with his jaw.
Try and defend this clip first. I'm very curious to hear how this is actually an okay opinion to have. Hasan is a hypocrite, no question about it. He has slandered people for being sex tourists on multiple occasions. He himself, however, indulges in the morally questionable act. In 2021, Hasan talked about visiting the Artemis brothel in Berlin. He bragged about having sex with a whole bunch of workers there. Prostitution is legal in Germany, but this particular brothel was very sketchy. It's linked with the biker gang Hell's Angels. Hasan tries to frame his participation in prostitution as being pro-sex work.
There are a lot of people on the internet that have really unique perspectives that are really polarizing, I guess, or they get like really passionate about like particular things. And there's a lot of people who just hate sex work. They'll adopt the aesthetics of someone who actually.
Yeah, because even if the girl in sex work is doing it 100% by her own accord, and that's what she plans on doing, later on in their lives, they almost always regret it. And a lot of them commit suicide because of it. I do not support sex work as a Christian, especially because the damage it does to those girls, if they were trafficked or not, is absolutely just dreadful, absolutely horrendous. And so, yes, sex work is bad. And if any girl is wanting to get into sex work, I would strongly suggest that she tries to do something else. Because, even if you're down with it in the moment, years later, you may feel very differently when you have children, try to get married, that kind of situation.
Cares about the well-being of sex workers, but they're not. They're the legislation that they advocate for and the things that they say routinely dehumanize sex workers.
Wow, Hasan, you're such a good boy.
Oh, yes, but taking part in sex work and sleeping with a prostitute doesn't dehumanize a sex worker. You're using her as an object.
A rich streamer who pays to have sex with women, most likely forced into situations where accepting money in return for sexual favors is their best case scenario. Totally no power.
Exactly. You have no idea what kind of hell that girl's life is. And how desperate she may be for that money. Like how many girls are trafficked into countries and forced into sex work so they can pay off the coyotes who got them over the border. Do you have any idea what kind of stuff happens to these girls? It's just disgusting. The people who make it seem like it's just this, it isn't. 9 times out of 10, there is abuse involved in it.
And balance there. Whatever your opinion is on legalizing prostitution, the fact is that sex trafficking exists in every facet of what we call sex work. Prostitution, porn, even OnlyFans. When you pay for a prostitute or escort, there's always the chance of you giving money to a sex trafficking ring.
Honestly, it's usually sex trafficking at this point in time.
Hasan tries to perform damage control.
And just trust me, I know the criminal underworld.
On his brothel visits.
First of all, it's in 2016. I don't fucking know what's going on in a brothel. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and that's why you shouldn't participate in it.
I'm supposed to know what could have happened in the future?
No, you're supposed to not go to them because it's morally wrong.
You don't know what's going on in that brothel, eh? Well, the Artemis brothel has been raided for tax evasion a few years ago, but those charges were dropped. However, this brothel has actually had sex-trafficked women forced to work there. A former football player turned Hell's Angel biker forced his underage girlfriend into prostitution at the Artemis brothel from 2013 to 2015.
It's evil.
Keep in mind, Hasan was in Berlin during 2013. So to answer your question, that's what was going on in the Artemis brothel. How old were the girls you had sex with, Hasan? Hasan seems to have a particularly strong contempt towards Asian women in general. Many Asian countries have had to deal with official communist governments that apply their policies to varying degrees. Needless to say, a lot of the people in these countries do not like their ruling governments and will either barely tolerate them or flee from them. Hasan despises these kinds of people.
Because as Vietnamese refugee, we have endured suffering under the communist regime, and we believe
unbelievable suffering these people endure, and every single one that gets out, thank God.
That
Okay, fuck you, dude. I mean, seriously, fuck you, old lady. Shut the fuck up, you stupid fucking idiotic old lady with your stupid fucking gamer headset. Who has fucked you harder, America or fucking Ho Chi Minh? Suck my dick, old lady. God damn, dude. Yo, fuck this refugee, okay? Seriously, fuck this.
And it's crazy the kind of language he uses, like just the S my D, saying that to people, like to a woman, even though it's not in person. Like, it's just disgusting behavior. It just, even if you're not a Christian, that's just disgusting vocabulary and behavior. It's wrong. It's wrong. If you follow this person and you support him, I think that you and I wouldn't be friends.
South Vietnamese motherfucking whatever, like Christian supremacist psychotic fucking refugee living in America now and able to talk that.
Well, she didn't seem to talk about Christianity at all, but I'm a Christian supremacist. I believe that Christ reigns supreme, for sure. I believe that Christ is the supreme being, for sure. Got a problem with that?
Shit. Why don't you go back and live in South Vietnam in the same conditions?
Okay, side note. Is this guy capable of saying a single sentence without saying the F word in it?
Okay, you, dude. I mean, seriously, you, old lady. Shut the fuck up, you stupid fucking idiotic old lady with your stupid fucking gamer headset. Who has you harder, America or fucking Ho Chi Minh?
Yeah, with their stupid gamer headset, which is probably the best she could afford, you know, because she's moving to America, trying to rebuild her life after it was destroyed in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam, and how grateful she is to be in America. You being a communist, just wanting to tear the beautiful country that has been created down. You're the problem, Hasan.
Swearing doesn't make you cool.
Okay, now let's get back to the clip. Christian supremacist? The Christian communities in Vietnam are not privileged at all. They go through the same hardships as a lot of other impoverished people in Vietnam, possibly even worse since there are reports of religious persecution.
Like in many places in Africa and all over the world, in countries and governments Hasan supports, like Christian massacres in Syria, in Nigeria, in South Africa. There's Christian persecution in so many places in the world, and all y'all people can ever talk about is the pretendicide in Gaza. How can it be a genocide in Gaza when their population grew after the 2 years of the war that was happening in Gaza? In conclusion, Hasan Piker is disgusting. He's a terrorist supporter and also potentially has connections to not only P. Diddy, but also Epstien, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Les Wexner, co-founder of